things like the Digital Public Library of America, these large-scale digital collections, and we're not the only one. I'll mention there's another in Europe and others around the world that I'll mention briefly as well. I think they really could be great partners with all of your projects and the work that you're doing and your faculty. We are really now in a position to provide a storehouse of incredible open material that ranges across time and cultures and topics, and it's there waiting for you. And so I consider this chance to talk to you to be really a first step in our collaborations together. What does it mean? What does digital media and technology mean in the classroom? And we had our students really try things out. You can see there's a line there, which is World Wide Web 101, resisting, embracing, or at least visiting cyberspace. And that was our attempt to just get students to dive in. The table I was at earlier, it was very interesting to hear some stories about students actually still being resistant to some of this technology, and that really struck me that I had this same experience with students 15 years ago in the classroom. Well, we worked on this course, Clio Wired. Also, the name is great, other than the muse of history. The fact is that this course began before Wi-Fi's. The only thing we could think about was those Ethernet cables plugging into your computer. And also the word digital wasn't in wide use, so new media became the name not only of this course, but the center that Roy set up, which was called the Center for History and New Media, which became really the largest digital humanities center in the world. There were 60 people, programmers, scholars, graduate students, when I left there in 2013 to work at DPLA. From our experience in this hybrid learning, we wrote a book. It's been out 10 years. This year, and called Digital History. And in that book, we really stepped back, and I really appreciated Judith's opening remarks this morning, because we also were sort of thinking through this question of the balance of traditional education and the classroom and research and scholarship and all this new stuff that you could do. And we came up with this line for the introduction that I include a slide on here because I feel like it really holds up, and it's completely an echo of what you said to kick off the day. And this was how we began the book. The cyber enthusiasts and the techno skeptics have both turned out to be poor prophets of the future. And I think that line has held up extremely well. And Roy and I decided as we started to write this book that we would be this. We would be techno-realists. Let's be realists about what this technology can do, what this new media can do, but also let's be realistic about what it can't do. With this technology is you can present on the fly different views to different kinds of learners, researchers, scholars. So we can have a vision of the Digital Public Library of America that is for kindergartners, that might focus more on browsing, and we can provide another view based on the same back end database and structures that is in fact for an advanced researcher or a graduate student, a professor who needs to do very complicated things. It's a very flexible medium. It can hold audio and visual and text, all this stuff, all in ones and zeros as part of the act of digitization. Things that I think we've all come to recognize. The web is now 25 years old. But of course, there are serious problems as well. There is the question of quality. When Roy and I were writing this book in 2004, 2005. We would go to faculty meetings and bring up Wikipedia, and we had to duck as the cans and tomatoes came our way. Roy and I were confident that Wikipedia would be something important, but of course at that point it did have problems. And Roy did a great study actually of the quality of Wikipedia at that time, and talking about some of the issues there. That, for instance, articles on the Civil War, okay, they're not James McPherson, right? They're not written to that level. They're missing some things. They're generally accurate factually, but the quality might not be there. 10 days from now is the 3rd birthday of DPLA. We launched on the anniversary of Paul Revere's ride. That was very important. We're based in Boston. And with a little over 2 million items from 500 contributing institutions, which was a great start. We have been on a sprint since then. We are approaching 12 million items. This is about to go up by a couple million items next week at our 3rd birthday. And we're closing in on 2,000 contributing institutions. This has been really an incredible and a really gratifying large-scale collaboration in addition to the items themselves. Just behind the scenes, I don't often show this slide, but you can see there's just a variety of collections, kinds of collections that have contributed to DPLA. I think when we launched, in part because we were incubated at Harvard at the Berkman Center for Internet and Society, people thought, oh, this is just a university project. And we do have university content, but it's only about 1/5 of our content comes from university libraries. We have materials from public libraries, we have materials from independent libraries, we have archives, we have federal, state, and local collections, we have materials from publishers, we have lots of different things. And again, the point of what we're doing and the kind of unsexy work behind the scenes is that we are synthesizing all of this stuff together. Everyone has different standards, different ways of describing their stuff, and I have a team, very small team, actually at this point we're up to 15 people, but it's still very, very small considering what we're doing at national scale, and we're synthesizing all this together into one giant database that you can use in whatever way you want. So we spend a lot of time making sure that we do things like geocoding our collections. So this is the collection that came in from the University of Southern California. It's about 270,000 items that they have digitized, and we went through the very difficult process of actually geocoding all of it, so that if they had postcards that showed the corner of Hollywood and Vine, we actually geocoded it to that location. And that means that you can, in fact, do this thing where you can browse by location and you can bump into things, right? The proximity question. We're also beginning to enhance this data in all kinds of new ways to encourage more serendipity. So we're adding, for instance, into, just to stick with geolocation, not just latitude and longitude and other kinds of coordinate activity for physical artifacts, but we're also adding in things like geonames IDs. And not to get too into the weeds, but geonames.org is an international project, maybe a lunatic international project, to give a serial number to every building on Earth. And so you probably already knew this, but the Marriott East Side is geonames number 979-6885. So you can tell your friends and family that you were at 979-6885 tonight. And we can actually slot in that data into the DPLA data payload. And that means that anything associated with this hotel, its history, its menus, artwork that has hung here, people who have stayed here, we can slot all of that into our data package. And that means that if you do a search for this hotel, you can in the future, through DPLA again, in this synthesizing way, find things about this collection. So this is a process called linked data. I think it's really exciting. It's not just for geolocated data. You can do it around lots of other kinds of things. But it's the kind of thing that DPLA does at its headquarters to help out collections nationwide and ultimately to help end users like students. So all of this is really enabling and encouraging, again, the fluidity of this incredible medium and the ability of students and teachers to find what they're looking for. But having said that, we decided that after building up this incredible supply, we need to work kind of on the demand side. We need to now work on having more teachers and students use this material. Over the last year, we've held focus groups in Boston of educators from around the country. We have also set up, more recently, an educational advisory committee. We'll be adding more members to that advisory committee soon. And that is part of just an incipient, really just our first steps in working into education. Again, why I bring this up and to end here is we'd love to talk more with you about this. I think there's lots we could do together, but we have early work around education. And what we heard from the focus groups and from our education advisory committee is that, okay, Dan, that's really cool about that linked data stuff, whatever that was, but you know, what we're seeing in the classroom is that students have a real hard time just diving into a sea of 12 million items, and they don't know what to do with it. Could you throw us a bone here? And so we have started, we got some modest funding from the Whiting Foundation to start doing some curation activities around our materials. But we rely, as we have for the entire collection, on collaboration, really, and radical large-scale collaboration, I think, will be necessary to really do this education work right. So we're just getting started. I'd love to hear your comments and suggestions and ideas for collaboration, and I thank you for your time. Thank you.